Welcome back to Mountain Thunder GT here on BSR TV at the slightly lower quality setting, unfortunately, but with the connection issues we're having to iRacing, we're going to try and use the lower quality setting to see if we can get a better response, as we're getting cars bouncing all over the track and things appearing to happen that aren't actually happening, so that's it's never good for the viewers. Or good for us, because we have no idea whether crashes are actually happening or whether they just appear to be happening. So we got a 43 car field, I think. It looks like we've got a few cars that have dropped out of the back, Rob, as far as I can see.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the cars that are disconnected. We've got Ben Warren, Luke Spaulding and Gareth Hickton. They're both all seem to have manually disconnected.
Yeah, that's right, and we're still looking at 38 cars in the running at the moment. Good mix of all the classes.
Yep, that's right, and there's 28 cars on the lead lap.
Excellent. So this navy and white McLaren here is that of Paul Jackson, who is currently running in 12th place overall, and that's 7th place in the McLaren class at the moment, but still all to play for. We're only 15 minutes into this 2-hour session, don't forget, so there's plenty of time to catch up. And one man we have been looking at as moving up the field is Luke Ridgway in the pink Duracell Corvette. At the moment, what is he, about 20 seconds? I think he's about 20 seconds behind the lead Corvette, and that'll be the leader of the race. And our class leader at the moment in McLaren's is Thiago Joao Costa in the black car that you can see at the front of your picture, being chased down by one of the Corvettes there. They want to take it easy there. That Corvette is a lot faster, so hopefully they'll be able to yield. We're still getting a few jitters from iRacing here, cars appearing to go all over the place when they're not, which is a bit of a shame. Just monitor that situation for you and try and keep that under control. But Costa doing very well at the moment. He's not a huge amount ahead of Joel Guez, who is currently running in 8th, but he's the second McLaren, and they're quite, he'll want to make up that gap as soon as possible.
Yeah, it looks like it's only about 4 seconds, so it's not too big a moment.
Now, when you're talking about 4 seconds over the course of 2 hours, of course, that's a drop in the ocean, really. Joel with his very own name written on the back of his McLaren as well. It's an interesting paint scheme that he's put on the car there. Ford GT leader at the moment is Matt Orr, and he is about 10 seconds ahead of the second place Ford GT James Crawford as well. So actually, from a distance, the Ford GT and the Corvette somewhat hard to distinguish. Because they both have that kind of orange headlight colour. So the McLaren is the only one that's really easy to spot. It doesn't actually have any headlights on it.
Yeah, that's right. And it's quite surprising that a lot of the McLarens are mixing it up with the Ford GTs a little bit as well.
Yeah. So we do have. Yeah, we're still getting some picture problems here, even on the lower quality setting. Unfortunately, this is definitely a problem connected to iRacing rather than a problem with the stream. Unfortunately, there's not a great deal that we can do. We can't press a button to make the iRacing service respond a little bit better. Although it is rare, I've got to say, it is rare to have this kind of thing. And I would have hated to be in the session and actually driving and have all of this kind of stuff going on, so I hope the other drivers aren't suffering in a similar vein. So James Crawford still the second in the Ford GT class. That one is being led by Matt Orr. Any changes up the top in the Corvettes, Rob?
No, Oscar's still leading, although he came down the long back straight and he had two McLarens in front of him, so he couldn't quite get by.
Oh wow. So yeah, obviously the McLarens are slower, but they don't have a huge speed deficiency over the Corvette. So really, it's going to be, wait for an opportune moment and get past. But these guys are used to driving these kind of cars, and and shouldn't really have a problem, right?
That's right, yeah. I'm just watching also Gary Feekins. He's staying in touch, 7.5 seconds off the lead after 20 minutes racing so far. That's pretty good.
Gary Feekins is currently in in second place in the Corvette class. But do you expect a major change in pace during the race for any of these drivers? Obviously, you're going to slow down a little bit when the tyre. Oh, big slide from Feekins as he just comes up the mountain there. But you expect to see that through tyre degradation. But and we got one of the Corvettes backwards there. Let's hope he gets off the track fairly quickly. It wasn't in too much of a dangerous position, but that's a bit of a frightening sight when you come around the corner on a narrow mountain with barriers both sides.
Yeah, I mean, there could be other factors into it as well, like pit lane speed limit as well, making sure they're under that to stop getting any penalties.
Yeah, of course. We're expecting 2 stops from most of the drivers, perhaps 3 throughout the race. Do you think there's a tyre grip advantage in going for 3 rather than 2?
Maybe not. It depends on how you use it, really. I think all the cars you can make it, but knowing me like myself, I do tend to push them a little bit sometimes and do wear out a little bit sooner.
Yeah, and it's very easy to do, I suppose. The attitude with endurance driving like this, it's a 2-hour race, is just to kind of relax, get into a nice rhythm and stick with that rhythm. Doesn't matter if you're doing 10 seconds off the pace, as long as you finish it, you're going to be doing better than some of the other drivers that have already pulled out.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think that first section anyway, where you get the twisty bit up the hill and down the hill, yes, the tyres might benefit a bit better there if they're fairly new still, but apart from that, it's all flat out, all straight and flat out flat.
And I believe this is the Corvette we saw turned around earlier on the mountain section, Aidan Walsingham there, who is down in 31st now. He's a couple of laps down from the race leaders. Not having the best race, but you've got to say, a new track like this, very difficult to drive, especially because people haven't had a chance to get used to it. And some of these drivers, I've raced against some of these drivers, are extremely quick drivers, and it doesn't really matter. There was no, that McLaren needs to get out of the way pretty sharpish, but it does so in the end as we watch Walsingham come round the final corner. But you've got to say that it doesn't matter what skill level you are. It's about taking part more than winning, especially for this event, which has just been arranged just as a little bit of fun towards the end of the season to celebrate the launch of the new track.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few standout drivers, obviously Gary Feekins, Luke Ridgway, and they seem to do well in pretty much a lot of series. Obviously some series might be not quite as good in, and that's shown a little bit here probably as well.
And just see if we can go on board with Mr. Ridgway, as he is currently about 2.5 seconds down from third place man Richard Goodwin, who you can just see up ahead in the distance. A monster engine in the Corvette, really belting it out as he comes down the descent of the mountain here.
Yeah, he is catching. He picked up 2 seconds a lap on Richard Goodwin there.
And Goodwin's just been slowed down by another of the cars there, one of the slower Corvettes. It's hard to tell with that paint scheme whether there's scratches on the back of that Corvette or whether it's just the paint, but it does get out of the way, and Ridgway is now only 1.5 seconds now behind Richard.
Yeah, you can actually see him now, actually, yeah. All 3 of them on the long back straight there.
So as we join up with Richard Goodwin, he is going to come under pressure probably from Luke Ridgway, who last time around, yeah, you're right, was 1.5 seconds quicker round the circuit, putting in a 2:04.5 compared to a 2:06. But again, with a 2-hour race, the more you push it, the more you've got that element, especially on this circuit, of just overdoing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're not sure of yet. It'd be interesting to find out what does happen, But yeah, after the race, we've got a good idea of what the track's going to be like for tyres and different class of cars. But it's really unknown so far, really.
Just looking back now from Goodwin's Corvette, and the pink car you can just see overtaking the other cars on the track there is that of Luke Ridgway, who will want that third place. Don't get me wrong, won't he?
Yeah, he definitely want that third place.
And at the moment, let's see, Goodwin is 22 seconds behind the lead.
Yep, that's right. 22 seconds behind the lead, and you know, Gary is still 6 seconds behind the leader, still hanging on there.
I get back on board with Luke Ridgway here. Currently running in fourth behind Richard Goodwin into the middle of the mountain section here, just about to start the descent, and he won't be able to get past in the mountain section. That's almost definitely for sure, unless Goodwin makes some kind of mistake, which we hope not to see.
Yeah, best bet is to get a good drive out the downhill corner onto the long back straight, and maybe slipstream past him there.
And it's just a case of tippy toeing around that last corner before the straight, isn't it? Because you're right, you do want a good exit, but any hint of excesses on the gas pedal, and that is gonna ruin your car as you turn the rear end round.
Yeah, and the other issue is, of course, lapped cars as well. So you know, hopefully they can be all right and get out of the way.
And we're not quite seeing exactly what's going on the track here, unfortunately, because we do have a bit of a connection issue. But it looks like, well, this is disappointing because we can't actually see, but it looks like they're side by side.
Yep, they are side by side, going into the last corner.
Goodwin with the inside will keep the position for now. Ridgway is looking for a way round though. Would you yield the position here and just let him have it, or is it worth Goodwin fighting for this?
It's probably not worth fighting for this, personally, I think. Unless they need pit soon, maybe, that it might be worth hanging on to that way, possibly. And
there's not a great deal of point in pit strategy in this race, is there? You might as well just run the fuel down, refuel new tyres, run the fuel down again.
Yeah, I mean, even if you let him by, you still got a nice little gap to Nick there in 5th place.
So the difference, Nick Thyssen is, how far is he back? 14 seconds behind in 5th place, so even if these two guys hold each other up, they're under no real threat from anyone behind. So Ridgway now right on the tail of Richard Goodwin, but he's not looking to let him through, so we have a battle on our hands, Rob.
Yeah, we have a battle, but it looks like he's being polite and taking it easy. Obviously, through this section here, it's not really an overtaking spot.
So I mean, that's another strategy that Ridgway might well employ, is just sit there behind Goodwin and just sort of wait for an ideal moment to get past, not force the issue. But he'll be yielding a fair amount of time by doing that if he does it over the course of, say, 10 or 15 laps. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, the issue we might come under is that if he does push Goodwin a little bit, he may put Goodwin into a mistake, and you might want to try and avoid that.
Just looking back now from Goodwin's car at Luke Ridgway behind, down that long straight. Yeah, the battle's still on. Although you're right, Ridgway's not pushing it. They were side by side around this time last lap. It's one of the Ford GTs there. Moves over, very sensibly lets Goodwin through to come around to complete another lap. And we're about a quarter of the way through the race now. Rob, 30 minutes roughly has gone, so I expect we should see some pit stops in the next 10 or 20 minutes.
Yep, next 10-20 minutes, full tank of fuel. I expect them to pit for tyres as well.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of point not taking on fresh rubber at this stage. I mean, how hard is this circuit on tyres? Because it's a very twisty up and downhill section.
Like I say, I don't really know. I mean, because it's tight and twisty, I suspect it to be harder than most other tracks. But I suspect them to pit really for tyres.
And there's a lot of traffic up ahead now, so Goodwin's going to have to pick his way through this. We've got some Ford GTs to kind of get around, and a McLaren in the mix as well. There's 4 cars up ahead of Goodwin. Ridgway is right behind him, but we're in the mountain section now. It doesn't look like it'd be a very sensible idea to make an attempt on the 3rd position for Luke Ridgway, but you just never know. Any of these drivers could spook at seeing one of the Corvettes in the mirrors, and it's not easy to get out of the way in the mountain section, is it?
Yeah, we're going to find that out in a second. Here we go. Going downhill now.
Everyone still looks pretty good at the moment, and they're just taking it easy. That is the sensible option. That McLaren will be looking to get out of the way, but not until the straight. And anyone who's just joined us the McLaren slid out, and that was very close, wasn't it? The McLaren is now on the inside of the track, but didn't make contact with either of the Corvettes, so they're both safely through. But that must have been a heart and a mouth moment for both of those Corvette drivers.
Yeah, that just backs up what I'm saying. You know, if someone has an incident and you're right in front of them, you got to try and be lucky, really, to get out of the way.
Yeah, especially considering that's quite a steep gradient. I mean, the cameras don't really do it justice. It is a quite a steep downhill there, so slamming on the brakes is not really an option, especially not in GT cars like this.
Yeah, perhaps later on we can go on board with some of the drivers and just to show you how steep it is later on, what the gradient of the track is like.
And just as a reminder as well, we're going to be trying to join some of these drivers on board and get their views live for you during the race and see how they're getting on, because it is quite a big commitment. I mean, sitting down there for 2 hours in one of these GT cars is no mean feat, and you know, you're going to be pretty tired by the end of that. So we're just watching Richard Goodwin come round to start the mountain section for another time, separated by one Ford GT from Luke Ridgway. The Ford does get out of the way, which is nice to see. And we've been seeing this. I call it a battle, but it's more of a gentlemanly agreement not to overtake at the moment. Luke Ridgway is not forcing the issue to try and get that third place from Richard Goodwin in the Corvette class. Meanwhile, Rob, in the McLaren class, Thiago João Costa is doing 2:08 at the moment, and he's about 5 seconds. Is that right? He's 5 seconds ahead of Joel Guez in second place.
Yeah, that's right. It's quite a good battle going on McLaren because there's about 4 cars there, you know, pretty close to one another actually. About 20 seconds apart from each other actually.
And you can see there that they are separated by one McLaren, but the red fronted McLaren there of Joel Guez is currently second in the McLaren class. Nilton Carvalho is in third at the moment, running very similar lap times, you have to say. They're all separated by about 3/10 over that last lap. Nilton Carvalho in they're quite nice looking actually. I like the look of that car, the white, the gold and the black McLaren. I believe that's Dave Grunhill in the Ford GT just behind him there. Again though, with this class, they're not going to be under any pressure at the moment. We're only about a quarter of the way through this 2-hour event. Just behind, I say just behind, about 15 seconds back is the next McLaren, that Call of Duty machine, driven by Bradley Selmes there. That's another good looking car, that one, Rob.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of good looking cars here actually. You know, some of them are really good, and other ones have just got the plain skins. But people have been keeping busy.
You got a favourite car so far? Do you think visually?
Visually, it's hard to say really. There's so many good ones actually. I quite like the gold one you were on about earlier.
That's the Nilton Carvalho's McLaren. I'll take that as a yes.
yes.
And then we have the likes of Ellis Stevens in the Corvette with the. It just looks like someone spilt paint on that machine, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, he quite likes that sort of thing. He had it in there, so a few other series as well.
So at least we've got something to look at as these cars go around. And it does seem, I'm going to touch something wooden right now, but it does seem like the connection issues might well have sorted themselves out, which is always a good thing. Stevens running down in 16th place, having made up quite a number of places. Here's the top 6 drivers at the moment are McLarens, Corvettes. What am I on about? The top 6 drivers are Corvettes, and then the next Corvette is Stevens down in 16th position. So Matt Orr is currently your Ford GT leader. He is in 11th place overall in the white and blue machine, and then it's 2 McLarens, and James Crawford is 14th, so separated by 2 McLarens at the moment. My race data has given up again. We're just seeing a little bit of interruption. I knew I shouldn't have said anything. I put the commentator's curse on the actual quality of the iRacing connection, which is never wise. And we're just seeing behind there Luke Ridgway coming up on the back of Goodwin, who puts in a big slide, so will have compromised the corner exit as the Ford GT of Matt Orr gets out of the way, lets them through. Ridgway has still not got round, Rob.
Yeah, quite surprised surprising. Maybe doing what you said earlier about just sticking behind for it to see what happens.
And the gap is now 36 seconds to the lead car, which is Oscar Hardwick,
Yeah,
also Corvette.
that's the interesting thing about it. I mean, you might want to stay behind him, but then again, at the same time, maybe that Oscar might be pulling away a bit more.
And what would you be doing here if you knew you had the pace to get around Richard Goodwin, which we're assuming he does? Would you be trying to force the issue?
Maybe a little bit, so he knows you're there. I would have thought that Goodwin might have just let him through, really.
I suppose there's no real benefit to Goodwin in doing so. It should be interesting. Oh, big slide again from Goodwin as he comes through the mountain section there, and that was, those big slides can easily turn into huge moments, can't they?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Big moments sometimes.
And we've got a Ford GT just coming down the mountain now, needs to get out of the way, but probably won't do until we get onto the straight. And they just sort of tiptoe round there. Especially going downhill with such a twisty track, and it's not a flat circuit either. It's not a bumpless circuit. There's lots of different cambers and different angles to deal with as you go around. So even a slight difference in line on this circuit can, completely throw off your braking point or the amount of grip you have. And we're just coming around to finish the lap now with Richard Goodwin. But let's go on board with Luke Ridgway as he chases down Richard Goodwin, and just have a look at one lap. One lap in the life of Luke Ridgway in the Corvette. That's Richard Goodwin's Corvette up in front. He comes down into turn 1 here. So keep it nice and tight and get a good exit here. Doesn't use all of the curb, but it's not going to be a flying lap. He's going to be taking it nice and easy, so it doesn't matter too much. And you just look at that windscreen. I mean, you can see how much. That's only 35 minutes, and it's already dusty and speck marked.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised actually. I didn't. Also, we've not been looking at it from that point of view, but it does look quite dirty there.
And coming round the right-hander to begin the ascent into the mountain. This is a very difficult part of the circuit. Hard on the brakes to take that left-hander, but you don't want to unstabilise the car coming in there. And just coming over the crest of this hill, you've got to be especially careful as the track switches from the right to the left. A little bit too much power there as you crest the hill. There's not enough weight on the suspension. And a couple of fairly easy lefts. He's keeping it nice and tight. He is gaining on Richard Goodwin slightly through this section.
You can see how close they're getting to the walls as well. Whew.
Yeah, I'm glad that's them doing that and not me. Big twitch from Ridgway as they come into the first sort of slow downhill section. And what you'll probably find these drivers do will leave the car in the higher gear just so they don't have the high torque to kind of put them off there. Apologies for the picture here. Again, the iRacing service is not as quick as it should be from this end, so we are seeing cars going all over the place. But they're out of the mountain section now, coming down that long straight, expecting them to hit their peak speed of the lap down here. Ridgway looking to the outside, just backing out of that one into the right-hander ahead of the heavy braking section before the left, coming back into the stadium section here.
Yeah, it is a very heavy braking area, that one.
And then one final corner, and Ridgway's dropped back off again. But it was interesting there, Rob. He could have made the move down the outside and chose not to.
Yeah, it is a bit of a risk there. You do get a good run, but it looks like he's just holding back for a bit to buy his time.
And he sticks his nose out just into that first corner to try and see if there's going to be any room to get past. The gap is now 37 seconds, so it's not growing hugely. I mean, it's not like these laps are really throwing away Ridgway's chance of perhaps taking this win, but Goodwin is now 25 seconds behind Feekins, who is in second position in the black and red Corvette, and he himself is about 10 or 12 seconds behind Oscar Hardwick, who is currently the race leader and has been since the beginning of the race.
Yep, still holding the lead there by 11 seconds, and yeah, he's doing a good job so far.
He's just coming up on one of those McLarens there, just wants to get past before that fast right-hander ideally, which looks like is going to be what happens here. If you're one of the slower drivers in this race, Rob, how much of this race is actually driving around, and how much of it is just getting out of the way of the quicker guys?
Well, that's the thing. It's balancing it really between being fast, getting out of the way of the cars, not having any incidents yourself. I mean, if it was me, I'd probably be a couple of seconds slower than my personal best, just to make sure I don't have any problems with damage or anything.
That's a fair point. And moving up through the field right now is this man, Matthew Dalton, in the Castrol Corvette, who had some kind of incident early on in the race that we didn't see and dropped right back. And he is now fighting his way back through. He's in 24th. There is one Corvette, Chris Taylor Jr., picking up the back of the field, who is behind him. And he is a good half a minute down now on the next car up in front. In the Ford GT class, Matt Orr has withdrawn. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Matt Orr is out of the race.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. It said he had a connection issue, but look at it. It wasn't actually a disconnect.
Well, it's good to know that not only it's not just the live system that's having the connection issues. Obviously, terrible news for Matt Orr. Never nice to go out through a connection issue, but it does show that perhaps Saturday night, new track, lots of drivers, there are a few issues with that.
So we now have James E. Crawford as the lead Ford GT driver.
And it looks like, well, my data's gone again. Unfortunately, the connection's not holding up enough to get this data. Hopefully it'll come back. Looks like he has a substantial lead over the next Ford GT as well.
Yeah, it looks like it. It's hard to say because on my timing screen they're all showing a lap down.
Yeah, they are. Just looking at the intervals between the cars, but the data here is not coming through very smoothly. I've been broadcasting here on BSR TV for quite a while, and I've never seen such a bad connection to iRacing before. I mean, it's very surprising. Whether it's just the huge session, I'm not used to broadcasting such large sessions, or whether it's just a sheer number of people. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I mean, suppose we're already 45 minutes through it almost, and it's getting down to last hour nearly.
And we have there's a lot of smoke coming out the back of Gary Feekins' Corvette. There seems to be a problem with Feekins.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, it's got smoke coming out the back. It's coming into the pit lane.
And there's a lot of damage on the side of that car, so I don't know what's happened, but he needs to get that repaired pretty quick. He is now going to give that lead to Richard Goodwin, who comes over the line and takes first place. And I must stress that it is first place because Oscar Hardwick, who was leading the Corvettes, has dropped out somehow. We didn't see that either, but he has dropped out now.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at a replay and see what happened there, but again, the connection, I think, caused an issue.
And just look at the smoke coming off Feekins' Corvette. There's a couple of other cars in the pits there, but let's hope he can get that repaired.
Yeah, hopefully some of the mechanics can get out there and put it out.
And he'll presumably be taking on tyres and fuel at the same time. It would make sense to do so. So we might just see him in the pits for a fair amount of time. Oh no, he's away now.
He's away now, yeah.
So refueled, and that looks like Oscar Hardwick just coming out just ahead of Gary Feekins as well. So Hardwick's now in 4th, but Feekins is right behind him in that 5th position. Just look how close they are on the track.
Yeah, very close.
And they didn't really have much in Hardwick didn't have much on him in terms of lap time. They were separated only by 10 seconds over the course of 40 minutes in this race. So I mean, we don't know what happened. It could have been a collision, or Feekins might have just made a mistake somewhere. But they were both taken out, and they're now right next to each other on the track, and they're about half a minute down. So it's not going to make much of a difference to 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. But the other thing that we haven't had a look at is the battle for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Just look at that on the track now. They're separated by a second. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in this race.
Yeah, and 4th is only 4 seconds behind the lead now.
That's not what I've got on my screen, but the data could easily be wrong here. So just trying to have a look at that, trying to get confirmation of that. But Richard Goodwin there in that black and red Corvette is... Oh, and one of the GTs has spun off ahead, but luckily there's no damage to the Corvettes there, or any of that Red Ford GT behind either, as the Corvettes stream past now. So it's Goodwin from Ridgeway, from Nick Thiessen in third place, and they're really close on the track here.
Yeah, that was David Grunhill went off there in the Ford GT.
And Grunhill was running in about 23rd, is now in the pits. Unfortunately, needs some repairs to that car, but will probably take on the fuel and the tyres as one of the other Corvettes just comes in there. Back with this lead battle then, Goodwin from Ridgeway. Ridgeway, for the first time, is going to have some competition of his own, because Nick Thiessen will want well, he'll want the race lead, but he'll want that second place first of all. And it's just another complexity to add into this mountain section, which is tough enough already, Rob, without having two buzzing, roaring Corvettes behind you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's 3 Corvettes there, second and a half apart, and quite surprising after 45 minutes of racing already.
Just got to watch out there. That McLaren coming through the mountain section decided to get out of the way, and wondering if that was the best decision there. But all 3 of them come through there unscathed as we come into the very last few corners of the mountain. Coming down the other side now, Nick Thiessen has dropped back a little bit. So Ridgeway is now just half a second behind race leader Richard Goodwin, and it seems to have paid off for him, for Ridgeway, because it looks like we've lost Hardwick out of that battle for fourth rather.
Yeah, not quite sure what happened to Hardwick there, but yeah, it's a great battle in the front now.
So coming into the final corner to start yet another lap, just about reached the 45-minute mark in this Mountain Thunder GT one-off special event at the end of this season. Starting another lap now with Luke Ridgeway in the Corvette, chasing down Richard Goodwin. And it's pretty much status quo, you have to say, isn't it, Rob? Because the whole race has pretty much been Luke Ridgeway following Richard Goodwin.
Yeah, but the good thing is those 2 drivers haven't made many mistakes as what the other ones have.
No, and Oscar Hardwick, we didn't see it, but he was chasing down Gary Feekins. And Hardwick, don't forget, was in the lead of this race. Feekins was in second place. We're not sure exactly what happened, but both of those drivers have dropped back. Feekins is now in 4th, and Hardwick is dropping down the places quite quickly. He might well have retired from this race. So there's the man Gary Feekins, currently running 2:04s, and coming up the mountain section again, but he is about 30 seconds behind the lead pack.
Yeah, he lost a lot of ground to the leaders there.
And we'll stay with this lead battle for you here on BSR TV for the moment. We've still got well over an hour of racing to come from Bathurst, from Mount Panorama, and Ridgeway just isn't making the progress he needs to make. But at this stage, I'm tempted to say he's deliberately not making the progress, because he's not really attacking hard, but he's not falling back either.
Yeah, he's not falling back either, but at the same time he's staying there.
And I'll give you an update now on the McLaren class. Thiago João Costa is the lead McLaren, and he is only 3.8 seconds ahead of Joel Guez, who is in second place. That's the red and white McLaren there. So he's closed up the gap, Rob, and Costa might be under threat fairly soon.
Yeah, that could be another good battle there going on.
Yeah, indeed, and the other McLarens are fairly spread out now on the circuit. I mean, once you get down to about 15th place in this race, it's anyone's guess what type of car it is, because some of the cars have had incidents, other ones have disconnected and then rejoined, and there's plenty of Corvettes lower down the order, plenty of McLarens lower down the order. But big news for you so far from Mountain Thunder GT. After about 50 minutes of racing, the race was led by Oscar Hardwick for about 40 minutes, and then something happened to him and second place man Gary Feekins, which allowed Richard Goodwin to take the Corvette class lead with Luke Ridgeway right behind him. And in the McLaren class, it's been pretty much easy plain sailing so far for Tiago Joao Costa, who is still leading that class. Matt Orr was leading the Ford GT class here for, again, about 40 minutes and disconnected, unfortunately. And just to let you know, we are suspecting that due to the combination of the Saturday evening, the new circuit, the new tyre model, the service is a little bit slow. People are having connection issues this evening, especially, unfortunately, the live broadcast system, which isn't the best, but it seems to have settled down. Although last time I said that, I put the curse on it and it went haywire again. So we'll come back to that if it's a problem, but we seem to be okay for the moment. So Adam Terry in the Ford GT, the Gulf Ford GT there. Nice looking skin that. That's got to be up there for the one of the best paints on use this evening. And he's had a few incidents, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has, and well, everyone's having their own moments really, and you know, it's all spreading out a little bit, and it'd be great to see what happens. We've still got an hour and 10 minutes left, yeah.
So he's 8th currently in the Ford GT class, and it looks like he's quite a way behind at the moment. Although the drivers are making pit stops as we speak. Is that?
I think he might have a problem.
There's a car just behind there. Who is that? That's Gary Feekins, isn't it? Gary Feekins is crabbing all over the circuit. Let's see if we can get a replay from of what might have happened there, because that. Oh, and there's a big collision on the replay. Let's see if we can go back a little bit further and work out exactly what happens. So we're looking at Gary Feekins here as he comes back. He comes around the last corner before the straight, and there's a McLaren right in front of him there, Rob. That's the snap. It's a Ford GT. It's just lost the back end, and Feekins has collected him. There's just not enough gap between the two cars, and McLaren comes around behind there, and nowhere to go into the barrier. Wow, well, there is a gap there. I didn't realise that, and that's Ellis Stevens in the Corvette, who appears to have collected Feekins. Nowhere to go there, just in the middle of the track. Absolutely no hope of getting out of the way, is there?
Yeah, that's a classic example of what this track is like. If someone spins it, you know, you're trying to avoid it, and it can be very difficult.
Oh dear, and those two cars just trying to get out of each other's way, but can't do it. So Feekins now is... Where is he? Is he in the pit lane, or is he withdrawn from the session? Well, I can't see him out on track, but
Feekins is still going, but his car's moving left and right a lot, so maybe it's got a bit of damage.
And Goodwin's still leading the race. Nick Thiessen is in second, but we've lost Luke Ridgway. Luke Ridgway has dropped back about 6 seconds now as well. I'm back watching Richard Goodwin as he is coming up to lap Nilton Carvalho in the McLaren another time. But that was a big moment for Feekins. He's already had one big moment in the race, and that, I mean, it's one of those 50-50s really, Rob, where you know, okay, you should be further back from the car in front, but you do want to get past at the same time, don't you?
Yeah, definitely you want to get past at the same time and you know, try and make the most of it.
And especially in that mountain section, any of these drivers can, as we've seen, can make a mistake. Oh, and one of the Ford GT really shouldn't have. Wow, that was close, wasn't it? Goodwin almost getting sideswiped by the Ford GT, and not wanting to wait until obviously the next corner, because he's being chased down now by Nick Thiessen. But Nick will be seeing that and thinking, you know, that's got to have upset him a little bit. Let's see if I might be able to make a move for the lead. We're on board through the dirty windscreen now. Second place, Nick Thiessen. Just having a look through the mountain section now at the back of Richard Goodwin's Corvette, and these two really are the only two, Rob, that have. Well, I say I'm going to put the curse on them by saying this, obviously, but they're the only two at the moment who have maintained the kind of clean driving all the way through.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, they're the main two drivers that really not had any incidents or not got involved in any, and they're doing a good job. And it's the consistency that matters, really. And
I should say that applies to the Corvette class. I mean, we've seen Tiago Joao Costa in the McLaren not really making any kind of mistake. Speaking of which, we have Joel Guez, who is right behind him. Again, I must remind viewers that I'm not familiar with the pronunciation of some of these guys' names, so apologies in advance to any drivers whose names I mispronounce, but I'll do my best here. Costa is being hounded now by Joel Guez, who is behind, who seems to have lost the rear end of his car. I don't know if you caught that on the camera there, but the rear bumper of that McLaren, the red and white McLaren there, is just completely missing.
Oh, and we got a new leader. We got Nick Thiessen just taking over Richard Goodwin.
And we'll see if we can't get a quick replay of that. We'll go back a little bit further on the camera. Just coming into down the large straight there, into the quick right-hander. Just watch Goodwin's car as we come around this corner here. Just gets a little bit on the grass and has to yield in the end. He's actually missed the corner and let Thiessen through, but it was touch and go for a while there, as we're looking at that on the replay now. Goodwin has had to yield, so we were just saying about not putting the curse on these guys, but looks like that's exactly what I've done. And it wasn't a big mistake from Goodwin, thankfully. He's still in the running. He is now about a second and a half back, but we're still staying with this fight here for the McLaren class lead. Tiago Joao Costa currently has it. There's a Ford GT sandwich, which should move out of the way, but it's a difficult proposition. Getting out of the way in the mountain section is as much about staying on the track, on the dirty edge of the track, as it is about getting out of the way of the car in front. Because you don't want to get out of the way, hit the barrier, and then come back into the way again.
Yeah, definitely.
So Tiago Joao Costa rather, in fourth place overall. In fact, there's only three, even though he's in the second fastest class of car in the McLaren. Only 3 Corvettes are actually ahead of him on the track, and he's about half a lap down from the Corvettes, which is less than we expected at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, I expect a few more Corvettes to be up there still, because we've still got just over an hour left of racing to go yet.
So just looking at these fastest lap times, the fastest Corvettes are doing a 2-minute 1.8. The fastest McLaren times are a 2-minute 6.9, 2-minute 5.9 there. So we're talking about a 5-second a lap difference at the moment. We are on lap 27. The leaders are now on lap 27 of this race. It's about the halfway mark, so we expect this to run to about 55 or 56 laps perhaps by the end of the race. And still some more pit stops to come.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Still more pit stops to go. Anything can happen, still.
It looks to be pretty stable in the battle between Tiago Joao Costa and Joel Guez at the moment. Nilton Carvalho, who is in third position in the McLaren class, is about 20 seconds off the pace. But he is another driver who we haven't really seen make any fundamental mistakes here, and is still in the running. I mean, it would be quite easy for any of the drivers up in front to make a mistake, and if they do, this man, Nilton Carvalho, will be there to pounce and perhaps take the class lead. Julian Oligo in that Red Bull McLaren is currently 3.5 seconds behind fourth place man Bradley Salmes, and just look at that gaggle of cars behind there. That's Luke Ridgway, who is now in third position.
Or I could just say that Joel Gars, whatever his name was, who was second in the class of McLaren, has just had a moment.
Well, Joel Guez then is, we're just seeing that just spinning out there. He's spun the McLaren out and then needed to reverse back across the track. That is not a safe place to be turning the car around, but seems to have kept it out of trouble. But that's going to cost him. That's going to cost him a good amount of time on the track. Let's see what he's down in. Well, actually, he's not lost too much time there. I expected Nilton Carvalho to have benefited from that, but Guez losing about 18 seconds there overall. It's a good spot as well, because we didn't see it happen when we saw it on the replay. Meanwhile, Luke Ridgway, who was running so well, is now chasing down that Castrol, which is a lap down, 2 laps down I should say. The Castrol. Oh, and he's Matt Dalton's into the barrier there. Perhaps under pressure from Luke Ridgway just to get out of the way, but unfortunately, and we've got another spinner in the background. There's a Ford GT sideways, almost took out the other Ford GT next to it there. Not quite sure who that was.
And we got Richard Goodwin who just entered the pit lane.
So Goodwin is now into the pits for the second time. This will be the second time. It seems early, doesn't it? Seems early to be taking on fuel and tyres for the second time. Maybe he's on a 3-stop.
Yeah, taking a while there.
So it's a long stop for Richard Goodwin. He's had to give up the race lead to make this pit stop. So, well, it's interesting, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know why he's in the pits.
Unless he's doing a reset or something. I don't know.
Maybe needing some repairs there as we watch Luke Ridgway go through into second place. Nick Thiessen has taken the lead, and that's Goodwin just coming out behind, just coming out of the pits with the Gulf Ford GT of Dave Grunhill in the background. Some of these cars on different laps as well.
That looks a nice car, that does. Golf GT.
Let's have a... Sorry, not Dave Grunhill, I'm talking about Adam Terry here, of course. Don't give a quick look at Adam Terry's car. Currently, Adam Terry is the last car still in the running, so we're down to 27 cars. We might be down to fewer cars than that, because it looks to me like Joel Guez is no longer running, is that right?
Yeah, I think you're right there, yeah.
So, I mean, we saw him slide, and he did make contact with the barrier, but it didn't seem to be severe contact. It certainly seemed to be the kind of contact you could get back to the pits to get repaired, and of course you get unlimited free repairs in this race, so it doesn't matter how many times, as long as you can get back to the pits or get a tow. So, interesting decision there, but Guez, who is running second, just losing the connection to iRacing once again as it comes back. He was running second. Nilton Carvalho is now second in the McLaren class as he is into the pits, and look at that pit entry. That was right on the ragged edge from Nilton Carvalho as he brings that black and white and gold McLaren into the pits. One of the Ford GTs just there in the background as well. So pit stop number 2, we believe, for Nilton Carvalho, and Goodwin's already been in for a second time. So Richard Goodwin in the Corvette class has dropped down to 3rd place in the proceedings. If you just joined us, this is Mountain Thunder GT on BSR TV. Glad you can join us live this evening, and this footage is also going to be available on YouTube after the fact, so if you've missed anything so far, you'll be able to go back and watch the start of the race as well. So, the leader in the Corvette class. We have had some different leaders, quite a few position changes. Nick Thiessen then is in the lead by a significant margin now. He has 55 seconds on Luke Ridgway, who is in second place, and perplexingly Richard Goodwin, who was leading the race, has come into the pits what we think is a little bit early, right? Perhaps we're not sure if it was damage repair or tyres or fuel or what.
Yeah, we're not quite sure really. Could be repairs or fuel. We'll have a word with, try and catch up with him after the race and find out.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to try and go over to a few of these drivers. We're just having a look now at Bradley Salma. See if we can get a word with any of these drivers as they're making their way around this track. But this track's split into 2 very distinct sections. The outfield section with a lot of straights and some few tight corners, but mainly straights, and in the mountain section, which is very twisty and curvy. And what I don't want to do here is distract these drivers while they're driving around the mountain section, because that would be very difficult to cope with. So if we do get a word with any of these guys as they're going around, it will be as they come out of the mountain section. But we'll see who we can get in just a moment. We're looking now at the Ford GT of 22nd place man Andy Dalton, as he is just behind Ellis Stevens in the Corvette, just up in front, but he's 2 laps off the... is it 3 laps? I think it's 3 laps off the pace now in the Ford GT.
Yep, 3 laps.
And he is running 6th in the Ford GT class out of 9 cars that are still running. We'll go on board and we'll see if we can't get a quick word with Andy Dalton in just a moment. As he comes through the mountain section there, you can see just how difficult the car is to control as he's grappling with that wheel coming round the last part down the hill, and this is where, you know, the brakes become less effective, there's not as much grip, some very odd angles here. See if we can get a quick word with him while we're doing this as well. It's got one more corner to go here. Andy, how's the race going for you so far?
Yeah, not so bad, mate. Thank you.
You're 6th at the moment in the Ford GT class. Happy with that at the moment?
It's not where I'd like to be, but I've had a few moments and just trying to make the best of it.
And how are you finding, you know, trying to get out of the way of all these various collisions that are going on?
I can definitely say I'm not the maker of my own race at the moment, so.
And do you think that's the same for everyone? Is everyone in the same boat?
Yeah, I think everybody must be, you know, partially in the same boat as I am, yeah.
Well, keep on at it. You've got another 55 minutes to go, but it's looking good at the moment. Thanks for joining us, Andy.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's Andy Dalton there in Ford GT, and he's currently running in 6th position in the class, 22nd overall. And it's looking good at the moment for him. I mean, we've seen a few big names drop out of the Ford GT class, Rob. Matt Orr, for example, disconnected, unfortunately.
Yep, a few disconnections there, but hopefully we get them to stay on track and get to the end of this race, because we've got 55 minutes left now.
So we're over halfway through this race, and apologies to the viewers again, there are some slight iRacing connection issues. I must stress this is not a problem with the broadcasting of this race, it's just a problem with connecting to iRacing. We're losing the connection intermittently. Again, we talked a little bit about this earlier, but just to recap on this, I haven't seen any problems like this with the iRacing service at all yet, so definitely not placing any blame here at the moment, but it is slightly frustrating to see these cars apparently going off the track and then coming back on. That's just to explain what's going on there. Bradley Selmers is currently running in 7th place, or is it 6th? It's 6th place, isn't it, in the McLaren class. He's looking pretty good out there, pretty solid race in that Call of Duty Ghosts car. We'll see if we can get a quick word with him just as he comes off the mountain, but we don't want to disturb him during this really difficult section here. Alright. Brad, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Thanks for joining us on BSR TV. How's the race panning out for you so far?
So far it's coming out better than expected. Started off in P4, but my pit stop led me down to P7, so hopefully we're looking for a P4 finish by the end of this race.
It's going very well for you at the moment, but any incidents out there on track that you probably shouldn't have got involved in?
Only one where I got hit from behind, but that gave me a contact 0x. Apart from that, I've had no damage the whole entire race.
I think you're one of the few cars, because from where we're sitting it has been very action-packed, and very nice coloured skin that you've got, a paint job on the car there. Call of Duty fan, are you?
Not really, but I just thought I'd do it for the fun of it.
Excellent. Well, you're just coming back into the mountain section again, so we'll leave you alone, but good luck for the rest of the race, Brad. Thanks for joining us.
No problem, and thank you.
That's Bradley Selmers then in the McLaren, and he is currently 6th place. 6th place in the McLaren class, hoping to make it up to 4th by the end, and he's about 20 seconds behind the nearest McLaren. And we just heard there, Rob, that the pit stops are shaking things up a bit, so it should be interesting to see what happens during the second round.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully there all should be, well, next 10-15 minutes will be quite interesting for the last pit stop of the race.
Yeah, indeed. Should be coming up fairly soon. Nick Thiessen here is not fighting position for position with any of these cars that we're seeing on the screen, but does need to get round. Nick is not a man who's afraid to overtake in the mountain section, is he?
That's right, yeah. Mountain section is very hard to overtake, so expect them to take it easy.
But also, I mean, he's been solid all the way through the race. We've seen Gary Feekins withdraw from the race, who was very highly placed, second for a long while. We've seen Oscar Hardwick withdraw from the race, who was race leader for a good 45 minutes. So it just goes to show anything can happen in this race, and it's all about concentration over the 2-hour period, not a hot lap.
Yeah, definitely. And 2-hour period, a long race, and we expect a lot of them to, coming into the pit stop shortly to make up their times.
So we're just watching Nick Thiessen round out another lap as one of the Ford GTs is off onto the grass. Where's he going to rejoin? He's alright actually, that's it's not going to cause a problem. Just when those GT, and he's in the pits. So Nick Thiessen is in the pits for his second, and what's probably be his final. Well, no, it won't be his final pit stop, will it? This will be 2 of 3, surely.
Yeah, this should be the last. Wow, it's a bit. I don't know. It's a bit early, isn't it?
So we only had an hour and 10 minutes. So 2 pit stops in 70 minutes. It's about a 35-minute pit interval. So Thiessen is going to give up. Well, he might not actually. He was 55 seconds ahead of Luke Ridgway as he came into the pits here. Let's just have a look at Luke Ridgway, second place man, as he comes around the track. He's coming around to the final corner now. Nick Thiessen is still refueling. So looks like Ridgway will. Yeah, he's going to retake the lead here. And Richard Goodwin is not too far behind either. Just come around that last corner now with 50 minutes of the race. Thiessen's just getting underway now, so Goodwin will take second place. So Thiessen's going to come out, or is he? No, Thiessen's come out in second. Goodwin there in the background with the lights on, the black car has come out, is still in third. So it's now a Luke Ridgway led race, which we didn't think we'd see, did we? Because he was really struggling to get past, or not trying to get past Richard Goodwin earlier.
Yeah, that's right, and it'd be very interesting to know what these pit stops are going to be like now.
So that's 2 stops for Nick Thiessen, 2 stops for Richard Goodwin. It's worth pointing out as well, and well, I don't know how many stops for Luke Ridgway actually. It's probably only 1 though, isn't it? Oh, and there's a big crash. Ridgway has collided with the car in front. I thought that might have been something to do with the connection there, but what's happened there? One of the McLarens is. Let's have another look at that as we come up the mountain. That's big news because that was our race leader, Luke Ridgway. He's trying to overtake one of the McLarens, and just looking at that on the replay, the McLarens hit the wall on the outside, bounce back on the track, and Ridgway is left with absolutely nowhere to go. Sends the McLaren end over end. That is a very nasty collision there. And what has that done to Luke Ridgway's car? That must have... Well, that's big drama there from the mountain.
Hopefully you can repair, but that's going to put Richard Goodwin up to second place.
It is indeed. So the race leader is now Nick Thiessen. Again, Richard Goodwin is now only 3 seconds behind, and you've got to say, if you're Luke Ridgway, you're going to be absolutely livid with that, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not sure which McLaren driver it was. Unfortunately, we don't have that info, and I'm unfamiliar with some of the paint schemes in use. But Goodwin is dropping back. In actual fact, Thiessen has been the faster driver over the course of the race, very slightly. Putting in the faster lap times on average, and there's now a 5-second gap. So this second place man here with the black and red Corvette is 5 seconds down on race leader, and Luke Ridgway is not in the race anymore. It doesn't look like.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully this battle for the lead here. Hopefully next time around we'll see a good idea what lap times they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, this offset slightly by pit stops, well, a lot by pit stops, and slightly by overtaking back markers and that kind of thing. But this is your new McLaren class leader, Julian Oligo, who was quite a long way back. So I'm wondering if perhaps he's got a pit stop coming up. He's currently about 20 seconds ahead of Thiago Costa. And Thiago Costa is second place now, but he was leading. Yeah, I mean, he's basically been leading the McLaren class for the entire race so far. Nilton Carvalho is still in third place in that class, but, and I don't know if this is just because of the pit stops or what, but the man we were talking to earlier, Brad Selmers, is now in fourth place in the class.
Yep, that's right, fourth place in the class.
It looks like just a little bit of work to do if he wants to move up there. He's got about 30 seconds to catch up with Nilton Carvalho if he wants to make that challenge. But we're out of sequence here because some cars making pit stops and some not. So it can be hard to tell. But we think now that these cars won't make it to the end, right? These Corvettes.
I don't think so. We've got 46 minutes to lash and go.
Unfortunately, all the drivers that we do have contact with out on the track, none of those drivers are in the Corvettes, so we're not able to actually ask whether they can make a two-stop strategy work for the 2-hour race. But judging by the second pit stops from these guys, it's not going to be possible to do it, so we might be seeing a third pit stop somewhere between now and the end of the race, and probably not right near the end, because who wants to make a pit stop on the last few laps?
Yeah, definitely. When they go, they may find that a couple of laps to go that might have to stop again. So it might even be worth checking their fuel load and trying to look after fuel as well.
Of course, it does play nicely into the hands of the tyres, if you like, because they get an extra tyre change out of that. Just having a look now at Jasper Groeneweg, who is in the Ford GT class in 12th place overall, but he is the Ford GT class leader now, and Thiago Joao Costa just going round the outside there into the mountain section. But we haven't seen much from this man, Jasper Groeneweg, at all. James Crawford was the class leader, and he has dropped down now into third in the class.
I do know Jasper from another lead. I used to race with him, and he is a very good driver. But I wouldn't say it's surprising to see him up there. But all those people that had incidents already, like Matt Orr, for example.
Yeah, and we should point out Matt Orr was disconnected rather than crashing. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I'm not quite sure why he's not come back yet, though. But maybe we can find out sometime later.
And they are dropping like flies, really. We started with 43 cars, and it looks like we're down to 25 now. So we've lost 18 cars since the start of the race. And well, you've got to say, I mean, these drivers must have been up for a 2-hour drive if they entered it. So, big sideways moment, and Jasper's lost the rack end. He's gone round on the exit to the mountain. He's facing the wrong way as well, so he needs to get that car turned round. Does well, actually. Makes the recovery. So Jasper Groeneweg turning it round on the exit to the mountain section, and that has allowed second place man Robert Podgony to get a little bit closer, but he's still a good 25 seconds behind in second place in Ford GTs.
I was very impressed with that spin to get him back on the facing the right way. Actually, that's quite impressive there.
It was as well, and coming around that corner, that's blind. The barriers will obscure your vision there. You're not going to be able to see anything in the middle of the track. So he would have known there was nothing behind him. But again, if he'd messed up that spin to get round, he might have ended up blocking the track for even longer. So he did well to get out of the way. And look at the damage on Robert Podgony's car there. That is, look at the rear spoiler is just all bent out of shape. That car must be pulling to the side.
And the front end of it as well.
I can't believe that car's still driving, to be fair, but it looks like the wheels are all still in alignment, which is the main thing there. It's just bodywork damage.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on the lap time and see what happens there.
Yeah, and I mean, he's about 3 seconds off his fastest lap at the moment of the race, so not too bad, really. You got to say.
Yeah, definitely.
That's got to be the most damaged Ford GT I've seen that's still managing to go round within 3 seconds of the fastest time, for sure. I expected him to be a lot slower than that.
Yeah, I mean, I expect the state's alright, but we'll find out shortly when he goes through this twisty section now.
And it does look like Luke Ridgway has withdrawn from the race. So the man who took the fastest practice time, and we're just seeing a few more iRacing connection issues here. Everything's still good on the track. The man who took the fastest practice time didn't qualify that well, but was storming through the field, has now withdrawn from the race after colliding with one of the McLarens that got out of shape just as Luke Ridgway was coming up to overtake. So a very unfortunate incident, but worth pointing out that all these drivers get unlimited free recoveries in this race, so there's nothing to stop someone joining back in.
Yeah, definitely, and there seem to be some of the drivers are still dropping out in that lot, and they think now that a couple of them will be staying in there. We've got 40 minutes left of the race to go.
Indeed. Someone else we haven't spoken much about in this race is Mike Thunison in the Ford GT, third in class at the moment, just coming up on Paul D. Jackson in the McLaren. And you know, I wouldn't like to speculate, but that does look like a very similar McLaren to the one that had the incident with Luke Ridgway. I'm not going to say for sure because we didn't see it.
Yeah,
we saw the incident, but we didn't see who it was.
We got Corvette in front of Lenore Filippi, and hopefully they can get past him alright.
Yes, it's Lenoir Philippe there, but we're having a few more connection issues, unfortunately. Just seeing the cars bounce all over the place again. That's not actually happening out on track. That's just our connection to iRacing. It's not holding up this evening, unfortunately. First time we've seen it, so we'll let him off for now. So Mike Thuneson then should be considerably slower than Paul G. Jackson in the McLaren up in front, but he's doing well. I mean, he's kept out of trouble because we haven't talked about him much during the race, right? It's almost good in a way that these drivers aren't being talked about because there's nothing to report on and they're just happily plodding around the track.
Yeah, definitely, and you know, a lot of the drivers still need a lot of good concentration with this track. I found it difficult, you know, being interrupted and that myself driving around here.
Well, the last thing you want as well is some BSR TV commentators butting in on your race while you're trying to drive around this track at speed as well. But that's what we've been doing this evening as well. Some of the drivers, big thanks to Andy Dalton and Brad Salmes for being able to join us, and we'll try and get a word with a couple of other drivers just before the end of this race as well. We've just seen Lenoir Philippe then, who is currently 5th in class in the Corvette class, come into the pits. That's the end of his stop, so he is back out on track again. And what do you think, Rob? 40 minutes to the end of the race, will he survive?
Probably. You never know. It's going to take a little while. I mean, the interesting thing there was that Ellis Stevens, that had that incident earlier, he's now up to 4th place. So you know, even if they not do well and crash out early or whatever, they can still get up there.
And that was quite an early incident from Ellis Stevens, wasn't it? Perhaps someone got distracted looking at the paint scheme on his car, but he was taken out. Didn't see what happened, but he's now up to 4th place, as you say, in the Corvette class, and he's just coming past Adam Terry and the Ford GT there. Those two used to battling it out in equal spec machines, of course. Those two are 1st and 2nd place in the iRacing British Touring Car Championship this season, which has just wrapped up, which was exciting enough in itself. And the iRacing British Touring Car Championship will be starting up again on the 31st of October in the Kia Optimus. So if you are watching now, or you're watching later on YouTube, hello YouTube viewers, and if you wanted to join in 31st of October, just have a look in the league section for BTCC and a bit of front wheel drive action as opposed to this monster GT cars. So Stevens, like you say, 4th place, that must have felt good for him, mustn't it? Overtaking Adam Terry on the track would have been really hard to do in the British touring cars, but very easy considering the vast chasm in performance difference.
And to be ahead of Luke Ridgway as well.
Yeah, indeed. Luke Ridgway, well, everyone will be ahead of Luke Ridgway eventually, because even the guys that are 4 laps down now, he's dropped out. Luke Ridgway is out of the race. So there's been another change of place here at the front of the McLaren class, because Julian Oligo, who was in the lead of the McLaren class, has now dropped behind Tiago João Costa, who has the McLaren class lead back. Nilton Carvalho is now in 3rd place in the class, and Brad Selmes, who we heard from earlier was going for that 4th place, is now in 4th place in the class. So this must have been a bit of position shifting as a result of pit stops.
Yeah, definitely, and there seems to be a lot of people making their ground up now and get towards the finish. But it's going to be an interesting end to the race, I reckon.
Absolutely. We seem to be fairly stable here on BSR TV. We've had a few issues connecting to iRacing. Had to quit out of the session and come back in and all kinds of things. If you're still with us, thanks for sticking with us. We're looking at 20 live viewers at the moment. We do have an eye on the chat as well. So we will be speaking to a couple of these drivers later on in the race as well. So anyone that you've heard from on the track, if you wanted to put any questions to them and you are watching live on Twitch TV, do type your question into the chat, as long as it's not something that's going to take a few minutes to answer. a quick question or something like that. We'll try and get hold of these drivers just before the end of the race and put your questions to them. But a monumental task here from Bathurst to drive around this track for 2 hours. Difficult enough, the mountain section, to drive around a few times. Difficult enough to drive around in a simple car, let alone one of these hugely powerful GT cars. And after 2 hours, Rob, you've got to be pretty tired of doing this. You've got to be thinking, is it over yet?
Yeah, I mean, you know that famous quote, it's not over until it's over.
So the fat lady sings, right? Probably can't say that today in the politically correct environment in which we live. But Julian Oligo here on track in the Red Bull. McLaren is currently running in second place, but he's only about 15 seconds down on Thiago Joao Costa, who is winning. Well, not winning, but leading, I should say, the McLaren class. As Julian Oligo looks to get around that Ford GT that kindly gets right out of the way on the I didn't think there was any grass between the barriers in that section, but managed to find some there. And further back then, Dave Grunhill, who is another one of the iRacing British Touring Car regulars, is currently running in 6th place in the Ford GT class. He's actually ahead of Adam Terry, which is a reversal of the fortunes in the BTCC, Rob.
Yeah, that's right, and he did have a moment earlier, we saw him go off at the last corner at one stage, and looks like he's gathered it back together well, and yeah, he's doing quite well at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. One man who'll be very disappointed with the races it's turning out so far is Matt Dalton in the Castrol Corvette. Unfortunately, not the best race for him. Incident packed. He did have not a tangle, but he was, I wouldn't say forced into a mistake, but he did make a mistake earlier when being overtaken by one of his fellow Corvette drivers after being lapped, and that would have set him back a little bit. But he's still going. I mean, there is one car behind him, Chris Taylor Jr. in the Corvette class as well. So, you know, it's still all to play for. Really, he's got 3 laps to make up if he wants to overtake the next Corvette in front of him. But he still has it to lose, I suppose you could say, if he were to drop that 30 seconds on Chris Taylor Jr. Have you seen anything for Chris Taylor Jr. before? Is it a driver you've come across?
Not that much, no. I mean, I think he may be a fairly new driver. I couldn't see him in the BTCC anyway. But yeah, it looks quite a good driver actually, and doing quite well at the moment.
Yeah, I like the fact that we judge the driver's quality by whether they've been in the British Touring Car Championship or not. That's definitely not the only thing going on in iRacing for sure, but it is the other thing that's covered by BSR TV, just in case you're wondering about why we keep mentioning that. Chris Taylor Jr. then is currently picking up the back end of the field, but still going around steadily. I mean, he's putting in 2 minutes 6 lap times. He's about 4 or 5 laps down from the race leaders, but no real cause for concern there. Still got it all to play for, as I say, because he could easily find himself making up a place, because Matt Dalton is just up in front of him. Coming back to the front of the field then, Richard Goodwin in the black and red Corvette there is 3 seconds behind race leader Nick Thiessen, who's also Corvette class leader.
He is catching up. He did a 2 minute 3.3 on his last lap compared to Nick's 2:04.4.
So that gap is coming down, you're right. Just coming onto that straight section there, we're looking at Nick Thiessen overtaking one of the Ford GTs, which Richard Goodwin will also have to do. But you've got to say that worked out nicely for Nick, because the straight is the ideal place to do it. But just look at the closing speed. That Corvette over that Ford GT is a massive difference.
Richard there hit 179 miles an hour down that straight until he braked.
And it's worth bearing in mind that top speed of Formula 1 cars on most circuits is not a great deal more than that, and those cars with a huge amount more downforce and a huge amount more power as well, but power to weight I should say. But that is some speed. Just coming off that hill as well. You've got the downhill section on a straight. If you can get a good exit there, hitting 180 miles an hour, and certainly one of the longest straights in the iRacing service. Nick Thiessen is still the Corvette leader, but his gap is being slowly eroded by Richard Goodwin, who is behind by only just under 3 seconds at the moment. Third in class is Phil Widdowson, who we talked about at the start of the race, but then again, another one of these drivers that we haven't really talked about much, Rob, just because he's just been getting on and doing it. You know, he hasn't been involved in incidents, he hasn't been involved in shunts or disconnections or anything like that, and he's just been getting on with the job of going around the track in a steady pace, and it's paid off because he's in third.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of drivers probably you're keeping quiet, concentrating. He's not made many mistakes, and here he is in third place.
It looks like we've got a couple of more retirements as well, by the looks of things. Oh, quite a few, in fact. So, I wonder what's going on here. James Crawford. We've lost James Crawford, I think. And Jasper Groneweg, who was leading the Ford GT class, has dropped down to 4th place.
Yeah, James Crawford is showing third place in Ford GT at the moment, whilst they wait for all the other cars to go past.
So Robert Podgany is the current Ford GT leader, which is interesting. Thiago Costa leads the McLarens, and Nick Thiessen is out in front in the Corvettes. We have about half an hour to go as well.
It looks like when we were speaking to Andy Dalton earlier, he's going to go up to third place after the end of this lap.
Yes, indeed, he is currently, on track. He is in third position in the Ford GTs. So last time we spoke to him, where was he? 6th or 7th?
I think he was 7th actually.
And he's now third. So I mean, we saw Jasper Groneweg turn around once, but something else must have happened to him on track as well. These Ford GTs are now 3 or 4 laps down from the guys on the lead lap. But that McLaren up in front is really not getting away, is it?
Yeah, definitely, it's not getting away, and staying with him, and hopefully let him past.
And you would expect the McLaren to be quicker, but Andy Dalton is on fire at the moment, putting in some great lap times, gets around the McLaren. Maybe the McLaren's just taking it a little bit easier, or maybe it's picked up some damage we're not aware of there as well. We are expecting to see the Corvettes come in again before the end of the race, because at least Richard Goodwin, his last pit stop was 50 minutes before the end of the race, which seems like a long time, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is going to be so interesting because Richard Goodwin right now is only a second and a half behind Nick, who is the leader.
And you can just see that battle on your screen there. The red and black of Richard Goodwin's Corvette is very slowly, I have to say, eroding the lead of Nick Thiessen. Still half an hour to go. There's no need to overtake for another 28 minutes if he doesn't want to, but the win is up there for Richard Goodwin to grab, depending on the pit strategy, because if Thiessen doesn't have to stop and Goodwin does, then Goodwin's going to drop down. We have another a place shift as well, because Ellis Stevens is now up into 3rd place after I was rude about the colour of his car, has gone and taken 3rd place ahead of Phil Widdowson, who must have had some kind of incident on the track that we didn't see there. Widdowson is now 8 seconds behind Stevens, and they are significantly far behind. So the two leaders, as far as I can see, are out on not just on a lap on their own, but they're 2 laps ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, that's right. It's not bad going actually. A 2-hour race, and after an hour and a half, 2 laps ahead.
I think it just goes to show the standard of these two guys up in front. We haven't really seen mistakes from these guys. We have from almost everybody else in the race, either mistakes or incidents that they were involved in through no fault of their own, and it really is going well for these two guys, so let's hope they can keep it up for the next 27 minutes and give us an exciting finish to this race. Thiago Joao Costa then is the leader of the McLaren class still, but Julian Oligo is only 7 seconds behind on the track. Any more pit stops for these guys, do you think, the McLarens?
I think maybe like a splash and go probably. They obviously don't need full tanks, I don't think.
I'll keep you on pit lane watch for a moment then, Rob, and you'll have to see what happens whether people come in or not. Just speaking of that, Matt Dalton is into the pits in the Corvette for the third and final time, hopefully, barring any other on-track incidents. He'll just, like you say, take a splash, see if he gets any tyres going. It doesn't look like it, so just fuel then for Dalton. And he's making his way up the track, but he has got a couple of laps to pull back if he wants to get the next Corvette place.
We do also add Lee Ward and Simon Topham in the pit lane for McLaren's in a minute, but they are down in 8th and 10th place respectively.
So those two McLarens right next to each other in the pit lane. And yes, well, Simon Topham on my screen is not part of the standing, so I don't know if my data's incorrect there, but what are you seeing for Mr. Topham?
Well, he's shown in 10th place in a minute, 9 laps behind the leaders. Obviously, the leader, McLaren, is a lap down anyway.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that, which is very strange, but sometimes, especially with the connection problems we've been having, the timing can go slightly wrong. So, Lee Ward about 5 laps down on the lead lap now in the McLaren. Russell Palmer is the next McLaren just up ahead of him, but they are separated by a lap. A few other guys we haven't talked about in this race. John Stamper running well. He is currently 5th in the McLaren class, about to get swamped by one of the Corvettes behind. And Gary Craig 6th in the McLaren class, and he's also in the Team Pit Lanes liveried vehicle.
Yeah, definitely. A few drivers not speak about there. The one we did speak to was Bradley, was it?
That's it, Brad Selmers, yeah.
Yep, he's in 4th place in the minute, going quite well.
Indeed, and we have Kenny Coughlin as well, who is in 18th overall, driving the Ford GT. He is currently 6th. So, when all has been told, Rob, after an hour and a half of this race, a lot of these drivers, you don't have to be the fastest driver out there, you have to be the most consistent. A lot of these drivers are in a high position because they're out on the track still.
Yeah, that's right. Like I said, you can't get the fastest lap, but then again, it's all consistency and keeping it on the track.
And speaking of fastest lap times, the fastest one we've seen all day is in the race at least, is 2 minutes 1. 1 minute 1 would have been good, wouldn't it? 2 minutes 1.7. And compare that to the practice session, which was a full second faster. But you can probably account for that by the fuel loads these guys will be taking on.
Yeah, definitely, because there's a lot of fuel in these cars. Expect them to be carrying a good second or so more because of the weight.
So most of the cars now spread out on the track. Steve Greenwood currently picking up the rear end of the field in the Ford GT. All he's got to do is stay in it for another 23 minutes. He will finish the race. There's only 8 Ford GTs left in it, so 8th is the minimum place that he can come if he finishes well, even if he doesn't, I suppose. But meanwhile, it's no change up in front. So Nick Thiessen is still ahead of Richard Goodwin. Oh, and a big slide from Thiessen. He's into the wall. Goodwin spun it as well. What's going on here? Goodwin has spun it. Thiessen, meanwhile, probably has damage to the car. Let's see if we can get a replay of that. So we're coming up the hill there. One of the McLarens just gets out of the way there. And then they come up the hill. Thiessen loses the back end coming up the hill. Tries to correct with a brake, but that just puts him the other way into the barrier. And Goodwin does exactly the same thing.
And that McLaren just taps it a little bit as well.
So the McLaren's left with nowhere to go, and that was off camera actually, but well, that's exciting. That's an exciting development with 22 minutes to go, and you have to feel Thiessen's got a bit of front left damage on that car now, looking like it's squirreling a little bit.
Yeah, he's wiggling the car around a bit, trying to see if there's any damage.
And yeah, he's all over the place on the straight. He just can't keep that high speed. He's got to watch it because he's going to lose control of the car down the straight. And that is Nilton Carvalho in the McLaren just behind. He's on the grass. Thiessen's on the grass. He's struggling to keep control of this car now. He's going to have to slow it down. And Goodwin is still a threat, I think.
It looks like he'll be back to the pit lane though.
He will be able to get it back to the pits. I thought he was going to go off, but it actually looks like Goodwin is getting the tow. it looks like Goodwin couldn't get the car back on the circuit the right way around, so Thiessen's into the pits. Arguably would have to come back in.
Goodwin's in the pits as well at the minute.
So Goodwin's had the tow to get back to the pits. Thiessen's managed to drive back on his own. So this is where this is the crunch point of the race, I believe, as we will find out which of these two drivers is going to come out on top. And we were just saying how consistent these guys have been for an hour and 40 minutes, and all it takes is one moment, and it was exactly the same moment for both drivers, wasn't it?
Yeah, and this is going to change the moment of the race. And I was just looking at Ellis Stevens there, but of course he's a lap or two down, isn't he?
He is, yeah. So Thiessen's out. All he had to do was stop, get the car repaired, instant repair. Goodwin needs the tow, so we're seeing Goodwin in the pits here, but effectively his car is being towed back to the pit lane, and he won't be able to get back out yet.
Yeah, that's a long tow he's got there. He's losing a lot of time.
And I think you're right. Third place in this Corvette class is Ellis Stevens, who's a few laps down, and it doesn't really matter. It won't matter now because he won't get second place because he is just that far back.
But he has got Philip coming up behind him, so that's going to be a good battle for third place.
We'll just switch over to that one. We'll keep our eye on the pit lane. Phil Widowson is just behind Ellis Stevens, who's in 5th place at the moment. So they are a lap apart. Is that right? Or are they? Or are they on the same lap?
Well, according to my screen, they're both on the same lap, lap 47.
They are. They're on the same lap. So Widowson will be wanting to take that position back. He must have made some mistake or had to come into the pits unexpectedly or something to lose that place in the first place. But Stevens, who's battled his way up to 3rd after an early incident, won't want to give that one up very easily. So Goodwin is now away, but he's a full minute behind Nick Thiessen. So Nick just has to stay in the race and not give up that minute over the course of the next 20.
Yeah, it's quite surprising that these Corvettes are really giving us some good battles to watch and enjoy. We know there's been their moments and incidents as well.
Absolutely, and another battle that's just going on here as well is Julian Oligo is 2nd in the McLaren class, and he's only a second and a half behind Thiago Joao Costa. So we've got 2 battles here on the track in class. Stevens now being hounded over the mountain section by Philip Widowson behind. And Stevens, who has had a very consistent race, you've got to say, since that early incident. Widowson has had a consistent race in general, but they're too far back to make an impact on 2nd and 1st place here, which look like it's going to go to Goodwin and Thiessen respectively. Coming out of the mountain section now onto the straight. Will Widowson make a move here? Has he got the run? It looks like he's got the run.
He's going to take it wide. No?
Stevens has gone into the inside to try and defend that line. Widowson now round the outside. Given the inside in the next corner.
Oh, this is going to be close.
Widowson's going to do it. Yeah, Stevens has yielded the place there. Widowson was too far in front. I think it would have just been asking for a collision if they'd battled that one out. So Phil Widowson goes back into 5th place overall and 3rd place in the Corvette class. But let's stay with Thiago Joao Costa now, because Julian Oligo is right behind him, and they've got a Corvette behind them as well, so that they might need to get out of the way for that Corvette. But look how close they are.
Yeah, very close here. We're down to the last nearly quarter of an hour to go now.
That's right, so after an hour and 45 minutes, just 15 minutes to go, and it's all going to come down to this. Oh, that Corvette didn't need to be that close to Costa coming in there.
Look at this traffic in front of Philip Widowson here. All the McLaren trying to get out of the way.
Yeah, and that is Widowson right behind the battle here. So the 2 battles we've just been talking about are in the same place on the track. Those Corvettes are going to get past, but Stevens will want that place back if he can. And look at the distance that isn't between these 2 cars on the track. As Julian Oligo really wants to get round, but I don't see that there's any way to do it in the mountain section unless there's a mistake from Thiago Joao Costa. Meanwhile, as Rob's just pointed out, Phil Widowson and Ellis Stevens are just behind them on the track as we come through the mid part of the mountain section and down to the descent, and they're still nose to tail. It's like it's almost like one giant McLaren They're so close together, although he's pulled out a little bit of a gap now. And one of the Corvettes is backwards. That could have easily thrown a spanner in the works, but it's safely out of the way on the track there.
Yeah, that's Leonard Philippi who spun there. He was, I don't know where he was in his position. He was 5th place in the Corvette class.
He was, and he will probably remain there because Matt Dalton's currently in 6th, and that's one of the Corvettes going through. That's Phil Widdowson. Ellis Stevens won't get through here, and down the inside, Julian Oligo later on the brakes as well takes the position from Thiago Joao Costa, and he is now in the lead. Julian Oligo takes the lead of the McLaren class in dramatic fashion. Ellis Stevens will want to get round these McLarens as well, but he's dropping off the back of Phil Widdowson now, so I don't see a challenge being mounted there.
That was something I wasn't expecting.
And Matt Dalton is just behind them, but he's a few laps down now. But he is 6th in the McLaren class, at least. And can Thiago Joao Costa mount a challenge? Look how much time he's lost on the track already after just 3 or 4 corners. He's lost a good second on the track already. But some of that would have been in letting those Corvettes pass. So let's just stay with this battle now. Very wide goes Julian Oligo to get out of the way of these Corvettes. Both of them are now through. But that's really closed it up the front as well. With his battle with Costa is now right on the tail of Julian Oligo in a role reversal of the previous lap. So let's see what happens here. Do you think Costa's got the pace? Because I'm not sure. Not sure he's going to be able to mount a challenge here.
It's hard to say, but if you get a back mark or something, he may be able to make a move.
Absolutely, but I don't think there's too many Ford GTs out on the track that would qualify as back markers in this situation. Dalton just taking it easy in the mountain section there has held up Oligo a little bit, even though he's in the faster car. Matt Dalton, he's having to take that section slower. McLaren more nimble, obviously. The Corvette vastly more powerful. Coming down to the straight section then, good exit from both drivers, but Julian Oligo looks like he's got the lead now.
Yeah, it looks like he's got the lead. Let's see if he can hold on to it to the end of the race.
So 15 minutes, under 15 minutes now to go in Mountain Thunder GT. It's been a long journey, and Dave Granell is in the pits. So that yellow Ford GT of Dave Granell, perhaps he needs another pit stop before the end of the race. Also in the pits, that's Chris Taylor Jr., last place currently in the Corvette class. But you've got to say, Rob, if you're still in the race at this stage, you're one of only 23 drivers, and 43 drivers started, so 20 cars dropping out, and just by staying in, you've done well. Looks like we lost John Stamper as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit surprised, but then again, it is a new track in that lot, so I knew there's going to be, I said at the start of the commentary that there's probably about 10 drivers drop out, but we had more than that by the look of it.
And it's been a fascinating race to watch, it really has, because over the course of 2 hours we've seen all kinds of action and very unexpected incidents as we race on board here with Thiago Joao Costa, looking for that McLaren lead. And what I find fascinating, Rob, is that even after 2 hours, the lead of these classes is down to a fraction of a second, when it could easily have been 3 or 4 laps.
Oh, definitely, a 2-hour race, and here they are with, 13 minutes to go, and they're still batting an hour.
So over the course of the next 12.5 minutes, we will be finding out who will be taking Mountain Thunder GT, the win for the Corvettes, the win for the McLarens, and the win for the Ford GTs. In the lead at the moment, this man up in front that you can see through the windscreen of Thiago Joao Costa. The McLaren leader is Julian Oligo, but by just that much, and there is traffic up in front as well. This is what you were talking about earlier, Rob. They need to get past, but there's no way of doing it here. Good exit needed from both drivers here, and those tyres have got to be complaining at this stage of the race.
Yeah, definitely. Those tyres are probably going into the last stretch now, but hopefully, they only got a couple more laps to go. And
let's just have a quick look and see if we can get a quick word with some of these other drivers before the end of the race. We've heard from Andy Dalton earlier in the race, who has done very well to get up to 4th position in a Ford GT class, And we also heard from Brad Selmers, who said he was hoping to get up to 4th position in the McLaren class, and has actually done it. So there's 24 of you now watching live on BSR TV. No questions from anyone in the audience that I can see. So
there was one question there, which I don't know myself actually. They're asking about what happened to Hardwick and Feekins incident.
Yeah, we don't know. That is an interesting thing. So Hardwick was leading the race, and something happened, and he was pushed well back and dropped out. Feekins was leading the race briefly, and then we saw him go into the barrier, didn't we?
Yeah, we saw him have his moment and hit the wall.
And so the answer is, I'm very sorry, but we really don't know. But we'll try and get a quick word with Lee Ward, who is just coming round to overtake one of the Ford GTs. We'll just wait for him to get past before we have a word with him there. Let's see if we can get a quick word. Are you with us, Lee? Not sure Lee's with us. Maybe concentrating a little bit too hard, so we'll leave Lee alone, and we'll see if we can catch up with some other drivers maybe a bit later on. We've only got another 10 minutes to go, but those the third round of pit stops, Rob, didn't appear for the Corvettes, did they?
No.
Except Richard Goodwin, who is in. And we thought this might happen, didn't we? No, so Richard Goodwin from second place in the Corvette class, although I suppose you could argue he's got nothing to lose now.
He's spun it on the corner before the long straight at the bottom of the hill.
So Goodwin spun it?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? So that was a good battle, but then Thiessen got ahead by about a minute from the pit stops, and Goodwin was kind of racing on his own.
So that dropping down to 3rd probably, but he will stay ahead of Ellis probably.
So this is Matt Dalton we're looking at here, and the Corvette class is separated throughout the field. Race leader Nick Thiessen is a lap ahead now. Phil Widdowson. So Phil Widdowson, I'm showing, has gone into 2nd place. Stevens into 3rd. So what's happened with Goodwin? He's going to need. Is this another tow from Goodwin?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, he's in the pit lane. I think he's doing the repairs at the minute.
Well, that's bad news.
He did seem quite frustrated in the in-game chat there.
Frustrated with anyone, or was that just his own frustration at making a mistake?
Probably looking from the replay, it seems like his own frustration from him making a mistake.
Well, that is a shame. 10 minutes from the end, he had the 2nd place, looked like it was in the bag, and we didn't think, did we, that Stevens and Widdowson, being so far back, would have got back in this race.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm really surprised. But like I say, such a long race, anything can happen. Even if you lose it at the start, like Stevens did, you can still make up a lot of places towards the end.
So Widdowson is in 3rd place actually. Goodwin has maintained the 2nd place as far as I can tell. Widdowson is maybe, well, the timing screen is not clear. I've got to say, it's jumping around a lot.
Yeah, we're just going to wait for this lap to complete and we're getting an understanding where everybody is.
So 7.5 minutes to go, and Matt Dalton just coming down the straight now to round out another lap. But I wonder if we can get a quick word with Matt, because I know he didn't get the start in this race that he really wanted in the Corvette class. But let's see if we can join up. Matt, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, mate.
Excellent. Sorry to bother you while you're overtaking one of those Fords there, but not the best start for you in this race, was it?
No, unfortunately real life got in the way on that one. I had to take an emergency phone call, so...
Well, it's a shame for that to come in the way, but you've done well to recover. I mean, you're running 6th at the moment in class. Satisfied with that?
Yes and no. I've had some wobbles and not really got it together quite as well as I'd like, but I've thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Well, that's the main thing, isn't it? And are you enjoying it still after 2 hours of doing this?
I am, yes. My arms hurt and everything else is in a fair bit of pain, but I'm still loving it.
Well, best of luck for the last 5 or so, 6 minutes of the race. We'll leave you alone through the mountain. Thanks, man.
No, I'm good, mate. No problem at all.
So that's Matt Dalton there in one of the lower placed, unfortunately one of the lower placed Corvettes, but that's one luxury you have in sim racing, I suppose, that you don't have in real life, in that you can kind of get out of the car in the middle of a race and do something else, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, that's the enjoyment of racing. You can get distracted, not only in game, but around you as well, wherever you are.
So let's come back to the lead of the McLaren class now. Julian Oligo looking to run away with this one. Thiago Joao Costa is 4 seconds behind and falling back. So I would say, unless there's any kind of last minute mistakes here, with about 3 laps in this race to go, that Julian Oligo should hold the McLaren class victory. And in the Ford GTs, Robert Podgany, who we heard from before, we didn't hear from, but who was leading the class before, I should say, has dropped back from this man, Mike Thunison, who is now winning the Ford GT class, and he will win the Ford GT class if he can hold on for another 5 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. Although we have got Jasper just behind him as well, so we'll see if Jasper can catch Robert up.
And they are on the same lap as well, so Jasper Groeneweg, who was leading this class for a time, is just 2 seconds behind, and you can see that's Robert Podgany up ahead. And again, if I am mangling any of these drivers' names, and you are watching as one of these drivers later on, I do apologise. Some people in the English language aren't necessarily good at pronouncing other people's names, but we'll do our best here on BSR TV. Look how close Jasper Groeneweg is getting behind Robert Podgany in this Ford GT class. This is a battle for second place. I don't think the lead is really in any kind of doubt, because Mike Thunison is 40 seconds now ahead with only 4 minutes of the race to go. But if anyone is going to take second place, I'd have my money on Jasper Groeneweg right about now, wouldn't you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I know him from racing elsewhere, and yeah, I know he's a very good driver, so I would definitely put him for second if he can get past.
And of course he had to give up the class lead when he spun the car round on the exit to the mountain just before the straight, and he would have been gutted by that.
Yeah, he would have been gutted by that, but then again he didn't contact the wall, so his car was in good shape still.
Yeah, that's right, he didn't need the tow, and he wasn't slow getting back to the pits or anything, didn't need to stop. The Ford GTs in actual fact seem to do better on the windscreen than the other cars. There's a few cracks and dents there, but still quite visible.
Yeah, it seems like it's quite a nice car under control in that lot, where a lot of other cars, like obviously the Corvette and the McLaren, have been struggling, people have, and it looks like the Ford is quite a nice car and it's kept under control quite well.
And of course the Ford GT here is the slowest of the cars in the class, as we look back from Robert Podgany now, with 3 minutes to go in this endurance race from Bathurst. It is the slowest, but none of these cars are particularly slow in themselves, and even the Ford GTs are still doing 2 minute 10 laps around here. So we come on to the fastest part of the circuit now. Jasper Groeneweg, we might be seeing a move from him pretty soon. Just look how close he is behind. He wasn't able to get the run on that car of Robert Podgany on the straight, so he's going to bring it round again and try for another lap. And this will be the penultimate lap for these cars.
Yeah, I think we've got about 2 laps to go now.
Yeah, indeed. And just looking at the class lead for the Corvettes then, Nick Thiessen is the race leader, Richard Goodwin is second, Phil Widdowson third, Ellis Stevens fourth in class. For the McLarens, which we have seen a little bit from earlier, and there's a move now from Jasper Groeneweg down the outside as well. Looks like he's got him. So Robert Podgany having to give up that place. Groeneweg takes second place in the Ford GT class. Mike Thunison is far enough up in front now that it shouldn't matter too much. I think it shouldn't matter too much. He's got enough of a lead. But there's a position change there anyway in the Ford GT class. So if Jasper Groeneweg can hold on for another lap and a half, he will take second place in the Ford GTs. Coming back to the McLarens anyway, Julian Oligo is currently leading the class. Thiago Joao Costa is second. Nilton Carvalho third. And Bradley Selmez, who we heard from before, said he wanted fourth place. Looks like he's going to get fourth place. Maybe Santa thinks he's been a good boy. Looks like he's going to take it. But we'll see, because anything can happen in the last minute and a half here. Oh, and a big slide from one of the 4 GTs up in front. Has that caused any problems? That wasn't the 4 GT that I'd hope we see from there. And Jasper Groeneweg is under slight pressure now. Just coming onto the last straight, and
a bit wide out the corner.
well, he did get wide out of the corner, but it doesn't look like Robert Podgany has the run on him here.
Yeah, it's quite surprising on this track that the long dark back straight. You think some of the cars might get up real close to him, but it's hard to actually get up at all and overtake.
I think the exit from that last corner on the mountain section is such a difficult exit that it's so, you know, it's if you make even the slightest mistake there, you lose so much time. So I think a lot of the drivers just take that very conservatively, and we are having some last minute connection issues here, which is a shame to see because it's been stable for a long time. We're under the 1 minute mark as well.
Yeah, we're under the 1 minute mark, so we must be on the last lap now.
So Nick Thiessen won't get round to the start finish to start another lap, and he'll round out this last lap of the race. 20 seconds to go then. He is a full 70 seconds ahead of second place man Richard Goodwin. You've got to say it's been a flawless drive really from Thiessen, except for that one incident where he was in the wall.
Yeah, it's been a good drive. I think actually every driver's at least had one incident in this race, and it's the people that managed to only have that one incident that managed to get back on track and get a good finish.
That's right, and we did. It was a long time before he actually made that mistake. But if you remember coming up the mountain there, just to recap, Richard Goodwin made exactly the same mistake on exactly the same corner. I don't know if there was perhaps some kind of I don't even know if you can get oil on the track, but I don't know what happened there, but they both made the same mistake at the same time. Goodwin actually spun the car around, whereas Thiessen collided with the wall, so Thiessen was able to get back to the pits and Goodwin wasn't, which is what has led to the victory here for Nick Thiessen.
Yep, and across the line he goes to victory in the Corvette class.
So congratulations to Nick Thiessen on a well-deserved win. Pulls the car off the track there safely. Richard Goodwin is in second, but he is still on the mountain at the moment, and that is due to the fact that he needed a tow, and Nick Thiessen didn't.
Yeah, you just think that tow he had, which was such a long time in the pit lane, may have cost him that victory though.
I think you're right. I think so, and I think it did come down to the McLaren made contact with him, didn't it? So Goodwin spun round, was in the middle of the track, and the McLaren didn't really have a choice but to collide with him. Whereas Thiessen kind of bounced off the barrier and was able to carry on. Not very fast, but was able to carry on and not pick up extra damage. So if that McLaren hadn't been there, who knows? I mean, there's very little point in speculating about such things because it happened. That's the way it turned out, and Richard Goodwin's got to deal with it. But an impressive performance nonetheless. Second place for the pitlanes.com liveried Corvette, and he won't be too disappointed with second, surely.
No, he won't be too. He'll still be a bit gutted about it, but second place is still a good place to finish.
And he comes through now to complete the second place. Over the line now to finish. Only a few drivers still out on the track then.
Yeah, we're just waiting for them to finish, and we're just running down the winners and the order they finished.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think most of them have now completed their last lap. We're just having a look now at Lenoir Philippe, who is 5th place in the Corvette class. He would have gone over the line already, so he's still just going round on a cool down lap, shall we say. Exciting 2 hours of racing here on BSR TV and Mountain Thunder GT. Thoroughly enjoyed that. How about you, Rob?
Yeah, enjoyed it quite good actually, especially the last moments of the race where there's the lead being still fought for right down to the wire almost.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get some results up on your screen and we'll find out exactly. That's not the results I wanted to see at all. That's the wrong, let's get rid of those. No then, well, can't bring you the results apparently, so unfortunately, no results. But why don't you run down them from your information there, Rob?
Yeah, okay, so we'll start with the Corvette class, because they were the fastest class of all. We've got Nick Thiessen in first place for the winner, with Richard Goodwin second, Philip Widdowson's third, Ellis Stevens, a great recovery to 4th place, of course. We got Nino Filippi in 5th, and Matthew Dalton ran out 6th place. Chris Taylor 7th, Luke Ridgway 8th, Gary Thickens 9th, and Simon McHish in rounding out the top 10.
And of course, only 7 Corvettes finishing.
Yep, that's right, 7 Corvettes finishing.
How about the McLaren class?
In the McLaren class, we have Julian Oligo who won the race for the McLaren class there. Targo Costa in 2nd. We had Carvalho in 3rd. Bradley Selms in 4th. Gary Craig in 5th. Russell Palmer 6th. John Stamper 7th. Lee Ward 8th. Simon Topham 9th. And Paul Jackson ran out the top 10.
And again, there weren't 10 finishers, were there?
No, there wasn't 10 finishers. I think there was probably about 8 maybe.
And then rounding out the top 10 Ford GTs.
Yeah, we've got Mike Teestium first, Jasper 2nd, Robert finished 3rd as we know, Kenny finished 4th, which is quite good, and Andy Dalton 5th place, with Adam Terry behind and David Grenier in 7th. So they're the only cars I think that were finishing the race.
And of course, just for fun, there's no prizes, there's no kind of championship to worry about here, just a kind of a sort of light-hearted event to start off the Bathurst season, if you like, just rounded out the final few races of the iRacing season. But an exciting track as well, Rob. Pleasure to watch drivers go around on this track, especially with the level of control that they have.
Oh yeah, I love this track. It is great. I think a lot of people are still going to be spending a lot of time on it, learning the track, of course, still, because it's still fairly new.
Let's see if we can get a word with a few of these drivers just at the end of this race. See if I can grab a word with Simon Topham, who we saw driving out on track earlier. Simon, are you there?
I am.
Simon, how did you enjoy that race?
That was a thoroughly enjoyable race. Learning the car was the main aim of the race, but a few trials and tribulations, but pleased to finish. Top 10 in class, 24th overall. Really pleased.
And the cars look particularly difficult to control in that mountain section, but is this a track that you've raced on before so that you know it well, or is it kind of are you new to the track as well?
Oh, new to the track. I've done a few laps in practice, but other than that, nothing substantial, nothing more than about 10 laps.
And by our count, I don't think we saw anyone who didn't have any incidents in that race, so it just goes to show how difficult it is over the course of 2 hours to maintain that kind of standard of driving. How well did you feel that went, the consistency throughout that race?
I thought it was actually a lot better than I thought. We had a few incidents sort of early on and people falling out, but generally we all got into a rhythm and we all knew what cars were quick where, and we found places to let people by.
And it certainly looked like there was a lot of excitement out there on the track coming into this race and throughout as well. It was a real pleasure to watch it. But for anyone who hasn't done endurance racing in the past, how would you be able to recommend it to people? Is it a good thing to get into, given up quite a significant amount of time to do?
Well, considering this is my first one, yes, I would definitely recommend it to anybody that's got a couple of hours free to put in.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. You did extremely well in that race, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you back on BSR TV for the next season of the iRacing British Touring Car Championship. Thanks, Simon.
Cheers.
So that is Simon Topham there in the Ford GT class. A very good race from all of the drivers who finished, really, you have to say, don't you, Rob?
Yeah, very good drive from a lot of drivers there, especially the battles towards the end there. Kept it exciting for us to commentate on, and hopefully for you at home to be watching as well.
I like the way Simon's come on there and said, it's my first endurance race, first time on the track, basically first time in the car, and he still managed to finish.
Yep, that's what I like about it. The whole object of it all is hopefully to finish the race, so at least then you get a good result, because you know there's going to be cars pulling out left, right and centre.
Absolutely. Let's see if we can get a quick word with Brad Selmes again, because we spoke to Brad earlier during the race. Hello again, Brad.
You alright, mate? How you going?
Very well, but probably not as well as you, because you achieved exactly what we were talking about there and got your 4th place.
Yeah, I'm over the moon with 4th place. It's my one of my first endurance races, and with P4 I couldn't have asked for more.
So how did that 4th place come about? Was it a result of the change of position in the pits, or was it just you were more consistent than everyone else and everyone else sort of had incidents?
I can't really say I was more consistent. I was putting in my average lap times of what I wanted to do, low 209s, high 208s. That probably gave me a bit of time over some of the other drivers, but I think staying practically incident free got me 4th place.
And are you glad that you chose the McLaren like you did, or would you rather have been in one of the other classes?
If the RUF was available, I would have chosen that, but I'm more than happy with the McLaren, and I might give it a run next season in iRacing.
Excellent. Well, thanks again for joining us, and congratulations. 4th place is a real achievement. Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
So that is Brad Salmons. He finished 4th place in the McLaren class. Rob, we asked you a little bit earlier about the paint scheme of the race. So who's going to get that award, do you think?
Well, there were some impressive ones there. You know, I quite like that Golf one. It was really good. The McLaren. Sorry, the Ford, wasn't it? And also that other one was really good as well. You were commenting on the red and black one.
Yeah, a lot of interesting, shall we say, paint schemes out there. Very nice to see as well. Such a colourful array of vehicles going around this track. No winner from Rob. Then no official winner of the paint scheme award as such. But if you had to pick one, which one would you go for?
I'll probably go for that McLaren Golf one, because that's a iconic car.
So that was the Ford GT, the Golf Ford GT of Adam
Ford
Terry.
GT, yeah. Adam Terry, that was it, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so well done to Adam for choosing the best paint scheme.
I'm trying to work out who had it on and what car it was.
And thanks to everyone watching live as well. Thanks for supporting the channel. Good number of people watching this one live. Especially nice to have you guys watching in if you couldn't join in this time round, or you just fancied watching instead. If you miss the start, you can always watch live. Watch the recording on YouTube later on, and it shouldn't be too long before that's up. Thanks for joining us, and from me and Rob in the commentary box, join us again on BSR TV.